So our next speaker is Emma Bauschard. She's coming to us from Boston Children's Hospital, and she's going to talk to us about something also really important that just gets lost in Angelman syndrome. And as having a child who lives with cortical visual impairment, or CVI, CVI is really important. It really can impact functioning and living and safety on many levels and all of their abilities over time. And so what we really need to do is understand the prevalence and the significance of CVI in the Angelman syndrome community, and she's going to talk to us about her learnings there. And we also have a vision therapist right outside if anyone wants to go and talk about their child, because so many kids with Angelman live with CVI and they're just totally underdiagnosed. And it can change their life once they get vision therapy. So I'm very excited to hear this talk.
Hi everyone, my name is Emma. I'm a research assistant with the Angelman Syndrome Clinical Research Group at Boston Children's Hospital, and today I'll be sharing my research project on cerebral visual impairment, or CVI, in Angelman syndrome. Okay, to give a brief overview, CVI is a neurological condition that affects the brain's visual processing pathways. This results in vision difficulties that cannot be explained solely by ocular abnormalities or problems with the eyes. Individuals with CVI often have difficulty with visual attention and recognition, making it harder to process and interpret visual information. And CVI is often considered the leading cause of childhood blindness and low vision. Perkins School for the Blind, a Massachusetts institution that supports individuals with visual impairments, estimates that 1 in 30 school-age children have CVI-related vision difficulties. Of these children, 72% have developmental delays, 64% have epilepsy, and 20% have genetic anomalies, all features commonly seen in Angelman syndrome. CVI often co-occurs with other visual conditions such as strabismus and refractive errors, including myopia, hyperopia, and astigmatism. And fewer than 20% of individuals with CVI receive a formal diagnosis, making it a highly underdiagnosed condition. A CVI diagnosis is typically made by an ophthalmologist or optometrist who has specific knowledge of CVI through a combination of a visual evaluation, direct observation of a child's behaviors, and caregiver input. Many individuals with CVI have difficulties with navigating indoor and outdoor spaces, recognizing objects, images, and people, visually tracking a moving object or person, looking and finding something in visual clutter, using vision in combination with other senses, and light sensitivity or needing more light. Based on responses from caregivers in this study, they shared examples of experiences that their children with Angelman syndrome might have that are related to CVI, including that their child has difficulty distinguishing familiar from unfamiliar faces and might need to use other features of a person like their voice or clothing in order to recognize them. Hesitates when transitioning between different surfaces, like from a wood floor to a carpet floor. Trips or falls over clearly visible objects while walking, not due to mobility challenges, but more due to the fact that they can't see the objects that are in front of them. Struggling to walk down steps or on uneven surfaces. Showing a preference for touching objects rather than looking at them, they might reach out for an object while they're looking the opposite direction. Having a delayed response or not noticing movement, like not noticing when a person walks by or when a car goes past them or a ball goes past them. Shows distress or anxiety in new and unfamiliar environments. And attending only to objects directly in front of them and not noticing things in their peripheral or below eye level, leading to a reduced visual field. We decided to design a study to further explore CVI and Angelman syndrome. We hypothesized that individuals with Angelman syndrome have an increased risk for CVI as compared to the general population. And the goal of this study is to determine the proportion of individuals who screen positive for CVI using a standardized screening questionnaire. In this study, the primary caregiver completes a one-time virtual visit with a research coordinator, which includes a visual health questionnaire that asks about the participants' visual concerns, previous vision evaluations, and current therapies. Caregivers are also asked whether the participant has been previously evaluated for CVI and has a CVI diagnosis. And the Teach CVI screening tool, which includes questions related to visual attention, recognition, perception of movement, and visual motor coordination. Different versions of the screening tool are used for ambulatory and non-ambulatory individuals so that mobility-related questions are not asked when not relevant. And the ambulatory version of 35 questions, and the non-ambulatory version has 19 questions. Participants are classified as having a positive or negative screen based on the scoring algorithm, and a positive screen suggests possible signs of CVI but does not confirm a diagnosis. In clinical practice, a Teach CVI might be used by a clinician as a structured history tool to support the evaluation and diagnosis of CVI. So far, we have 20 participants who have completed the study. The group includes a relatively equivalent number of males and females. The age ranges from 2 to 48 years old, with 70% under the age of 18. And 75% were deletion, and 25% had a mutation subtype. We do not yet have individuals with UPT or imprinting defect, but we hope to enroll these molecular subtypes as the study continues. And according to Caregiver Report, 55% of participants walked independently, and 5% walked with support as their primary means of getting around. These individuals were considered ambulatory for this study, and the remaining 40% were non-ambulatory, meaning they primarily used a stroller or wheelchair or crawled or scooted to get around. Okay, here are the very preliminary screening results for our study. We had 8 participants screened positive for CVI and 12 screened negative. Of those who screened positive, 3 were already had a formal CVI diagnosis, while 5 had not yet been evaluated for CVI by a vision specialist. And of those who screened negative, 2 already had a formal CVI diagnosis, and the other 10 had not yet been evaluated for CVI. Here's a further breakdown of the screening results by the different demographic groups. At this early stage in the study, we didn't notice any significant differences among the demographic groups, but we will continue to observe these trends as the study sample grows. And we are still looking to recruit more participants, so if you are a caregiver of an individual with Angelman syndrome and you're interested in participating, you can scan the QR code or go to the link redcap.link/CVI to fill out an interest form, and feel free to reach out directly to me via my email if you have any questions. We're enrolling participants of all ages and subtypes, and we're especially interested in enrolling participants who have already been formally evaluated for CVI. And I'd like to acknowledge our collaborators at the New England College of Optometry and the Perkins School for the Blind, as well as the rest of the Angelman Syndrome Research Group at Boston Children's. And of course, a big thank you to all the families who participated.
What a great job. We can't underestimate the value of that information, and hopefully more people participate, because I do think once we see this is a real significant problem in the community, I think we're going to be able to address it in a much bigger way and really get vision therapy on the IEPs for these kids, because I do think it changes everything for them. And certainly when Quincy was diagnosed, it changed a whole heck of a lot. Her whole AAC device is different because of her diagnosis of CVI and how we think about contrast as it relates to CVI.